Everyone makes mistakes, but some are given a chance to fix everything. It seems I deserve to get that chance. At the beginning of the year, I met a very pleasant girl, Emily. In the evenings, we would go out for walks along the frosty streets, and over time, our relationship became very close. My friends were even jealous that everything between us was so calm and peaceful. I realized I couldn't let this chance slip away, and by mid-spring, I suggested we move in together and try living as a family. She didn't hesitate and immediately agreed. Her rented apartment was paid for in advance, so we decided to postpone the move until summer and take a vacation at the same time. I felt like I should have also proposed marriage, but I couldn't fully make up my mind. Soon, though, a moment came that showed me whether I should rush into it. At that time, I believed Emily was the best girl I could ever meet. You know that period. Blind faith and a refusal to be objective. But soon a situation opened my eyes. We continued to meet in the evenings, and sometimes she stayed over at my place. Emily had to be at work by 9, so when she left around 7:30, I gave her a spare key so she could lock up behind herself. In return, just a couple of days later, I had a key to her apartment. It seemed really convenient. If Emily was running late at work, she'd ask me to stop by and feed her cat. And when I went on business trips, she could come over to my place, throw out any spoiled food, or just check on things. One day I had meetings with clients outside the office. I gathered all the necessary documents and headed out. It's always exhausting running from office to office. Even worse is meeting in restaurants. You order a steak, and the client turns out to be a vegetarian, glaring at your plate while you awkwardly try to finish your meal. After 3 somewhat successful meetings, I had a few free hours. I realized I was only 10 minutes away from Emily's apartment and thought, why not surprise her? I bought her favorite pastries, sushi, and a bottle of her favorite wine. Looking at my watch, I thought Emily would be heading home soon, so I hurried, hoping to set everything up. Plates, cutlery, music. But when I got to her floor, I heard loud music blaring from inside her apartment. The door was locked, but I used my key and hesitantly stepped inside. Her cat, Bella, met me in the hallway, her fur on end and eyes wide with fear. We never got along much, but this time, she jumped right into my arms, her heart pounding wildly. Standing there holding Bella, I could clearly hear intimate sounds over the music. I instantly understood what was going on. I thought about quietly closing the door and leaving, erasing Emily from my life forever. But something inside me snapped. I had to see it with my own eyes. The kitchen was just a few steps away, but it felt like I was walking through a nightmare. I thought about how glad I was that we hadn't planned a wedding yet. Imagine having to explain that cancellation to everyone. As I stepped into the kitchen, the scene unfolded before me. A huge naked guy stood there, his back to me, with a woman's legs wrapped around him. His back was so hairy it reminded me of the rug in my living room. I froze, my face flushed with rage. Normally, I'd never pick a fight with someone like him. He was clearly bigger and stronger, but I wasn't thinking rationally. I grabbed a kitchen stool and swung it at him, hitting his back 3 times before it broke into pieces. The guy jumped away, trying to dodge me and shouting something, but I couldn't hear it over the blaring music and the blood rushing in my ears. I grabbed one of the broken legs of the stool, raising it as a weapon, even thinking about aiming it at his eye. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a brunette woman sitting on the windowsill, trying to cover herself with a curtain. I froze, dropping the stool leg, which clattered to the floor. The guy ran into the bathroom and locked the door behind him. I stood there, breathing heavily, taking it all in. I walked over and turned off the music. The girl wrapped herself tighter in the curtain and mumbled a greeting. I awkwardly said hello back. From behind the bathroom door, I heard the guy say something about getting dressed. Only then did I realize what had really happened. The brunette introduced herself as Sarah, Emily's old friend. She explained that they had met by chance earlier that day and decided to hang out at Emily's place since Sarah's parents were home at hers. Emily had gone to the store, and Sarah's boyfriend, Tom, had joined them. Things escalated, and I had stumbled into the middle of it. When Emily finally came home, we all sat around awkwardly drinking tea. She was horrified when she saw the broken stool and heard what had happened. But by the end of the night, we were all laughing at how ridiculous the situation was. That night, after everyone left, I realized how much I truly cared about Emily. Despite the chaos, I couldn't imagine losing her. A few weeks later, I proposed, but Emily just laughed and said, "Only after you replace that broken stool." And so here we are, happily together, and every time guests come over, Emily tells the story of how I almost killed her friend's boyfriend with a stool, earning me the nickname, the Stool Warrior. A few weeks after that chaotic evening, I found myself at a furniture store, standing in front of a lineup of kitchen stools. I chuckled to myself, remembering how that flimsy wooden stool had shattered in my hands. This time, I picked the sturdiest one I could find. Oak, solid, with reinforced legs. I imagined Emily laughing when I brought it home. When I returned to the apartment, Emily was waiting for me, sitting on the couch with Bella curled up in her lap. As soon as she saw the new stool, she burst out laughing. "Well, I guess we can finally get married now," she teased, her eyes twinkling. "Deal's a deal," I replied, grinning. But something in that moment felt different. It wasn't just about the stool or the crazy situation we'd been through. It was about us, how we had faced something ridiculous and painful, but somehow found our way through it together. That realization hit me harder than the broken stool ever could. We set a date for the wedding in early autumn. It was simple, just close friends and family. There was no over-the-top celebration, no massive guest list, just us and the people who truly mattered. Even Sarah and Tom were there, awkwardly laughing when Emily gave them a playful glare during the vows. As for the broken stool, Emily had an idea. She took one of the legs, cleaned it up, and had it engraved with the words, "To love, to laugh, and to survive even the craziest moments together." It became a sort of inside joke between us, a reminder that even when life throws the unexpected at you, sometimes all you need is love, and maybe a sturdy stool. Years passed, and that story became a staple at every dinner party we hosted. Guests would sit on the new oak stools, and Emily would inevitably start, "Did I ever tell you how he earned the nickname, the Stool Warrior?" But the truth was, that crazy day taught me more about love and forgiveness than any calm, peaceful moment ever could. It showed me that relationships aren't perfect. They're messy, unpredictable, and sometimes downright absurd. But when you can look past the chaos, laugh at the madness, and still choose each other, that's when you know it's real. One evening, sitting on our balcony, Emily leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You know, I never told you this, but that day, I was terrified, not just because of what happened, but because I realized how much you really cared. Even in the middle of all that madness, I saw it in your eyes." I smiled, holding her close, and I realized I couldn't imagine my life without you, even if you do have questionable taste in friends. We both laughed, Bella meowed in agreement, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, I thought to myself, yeah, sometimes life gives you a second chance, and when it does, you better hold on to it with both hands, even if one of them is holding a stool.